Parmley. It was one of the first buildings that they actually owned, given to them by a church member, and it is now the location of some art galleries. And the last time I was there was a Swedish mattress factory housed on the ground floor. It's a 19th century 6-story cast iron building.
Wow.
Building that pastors first began to be paid.
I can't remember what you were talking about it, but I can't remember the time. I guess it was the time before. I can't remember the time before.
New York was, by this time, the nation's metropolis, the largest city. It had been the largest city for 20 years, but it was continuing to grow. This was during the period when the Erie Canal was built. There was lots of activity going on. New York became the center for goods and services that were being shipped to the west by the canal. And between 1830 and 1850, 200,000 people moved into the city, which was now numbering more than 515,000 people. And what we often heard about New York became a theme of New York. The business of New York is business. And it was quite successful. And we are in the upper 60s, and it'll be on your right, on the right side of the street, 80 Greene Street, if the numbers are still the same. Great social changes were going on in New York during this time. Up to this point, New York had probably been a middle-class Protestant city of mainly American-born parentage, and it had excellent craft workers, and its banking and commercial businesses were dominant throughout the country. The city's leaders were Protestant entrepreneurs, and the city was run, as I pointed out earlier, by volunteers. Now we're running into Greene Street, Cobblestone Street, up here on, can you get through? But even during this time, most of the city's homes had no sewers. It must not have been a very pleasant place to live from our point of view. And this was the time when the Irish potato famine occurred, and hundreds of thousands of unskilled Catholics disembarked into New York City beginning in 1840. And this huge amount of tsunami of immigration changed the population to 1/4 Irish, and they were mainly unskilled and illiterate people. And so this was when the government instituted the police and fire departments, and the public schools were finally established. The Catholic Church began to open hospitals, and the churches really tried to provide some help and leadership, but it was very inadequate for the amount of people who came into the city. And a time of racial tension and ethnic tension was developing in the city. You know, we're now in SoHo.
South of Houston.
Is that what SoHo stands for?
South of Houston Street.
It's 82.
Okay, you're
Just past it.
the one with the plywood.
Got a scaffold in front of it.